First of all, let's look at social engineering concepts and threats. What is social engineering? Well, every human is running an operating system. It is Human Operating System 1.0. It's never been upgraded, and it's very difficult to patch. And because of that, people are able to trick other people into doing things they shouldn't be doing. It's a powerful operating system. I mean, computer networks, the internet, skyscrapers, space stations, trips to Mars, but yet somebody will click on a link in an email. So we convince people to reveal confidential information, and so what they do is they prey on that fact, that people are unaware, and we'll look at there are certain push button features. There are actually features of Human OS 1.0, and these features are actually used against us with social engineering. And so we need to be able to protect, not be careless with that information. What I always tell people is that it's very important to take all the critical information about yourself, everything from your social security number or any national identity number, to your phone number, to your credit card number, anything that you consider to be private information that shouldn't be out on the network. And you kind of put a flag on all of those pieces of information so that if anybody asks you about it for any reason, you ask yourself, wait a minute, what are they saying, and do I need to respond to this? Like, for instance, just very quickly before we move on to the next slide, I've walked into an agency and asked to be, I'm working with somebody on something, and they asked for my social security number, but there's a flag on my social security number, which is a national ID number. And many times I've said, is it possible to skip that or use a different number? And they say, okay, no, we don't need that. Maybe we can use your driver's license number. Or they'll say, we don't need that. But they asked me anyway. Most people will just give out the numbers without putting a flag on that's personal information. So be careful with social engineering. That's why we're in this module. Who is a target of social engineering? Receptionists. If you've ever worked at a front desk of an organization, you might be a target of social engineering. Help desk personnel. If you've ever answered phones for a help desk, level 1, even level 2 personnel, you might be a target of social engineering. Technical support executives, system and network administrators, system and network engineers, users. What is a user? Well, anybody who picks up a computing device and interacts with it. Yep, that's a user. That's you, that's me. That's everybody in the network at work. That's everybody in the network at home. Clients, vendors of the target organization, senior executives. Oh man, those are good targets for social engineering, because if you can get them, they have the money. They have keys to control the organization. So that often happens. Just to give you a quick example, let's go back to number 1. So in some organizations where I worked, one of the things that receptionists would be responsible for is taking in the mail. So the mail carrier comes in, he drops off a stack of mail. When things slow down a little bit, the receptionist takes out the mail, and it's a bill. And one of the bills says bill for toner, for your copier or whatever. And he or she sees bills for a toner all the time. And so they just put it in the pay stack, and then accounts receivable gets it. And, oh, office supplies, toner, and they pay the bill when the organization never ordered toner. They may not even have a copier of that type. In some cases, the vendor will then establish a relationship with that company and begin shipping them toner legitimately. But other times it's done completely illegitimately, right? So there's some social engineering. Try to find something that falls into what looks like a norm and capture that, right? So another one for senior executives that I've seen is actually social engineering people who work for those senior executives. And the way it goes is the employee will get an email or a text or some type of communication purportedly from the senior executive. Hey, this is Fred, the CTO of the organization, and I am stuck across town. There's a traffic jam, and I need to get to a birthday party. And this birthday party, there are 15 kids that I was going to give Xbox cards to. So can you do me a favor? Buy 15 Xbox cards, send the numbers to this address, and then just expense it. Okay, can you do that for me? Thank you very much. And it could be a receptionist, it could be a help desk personnel, it could be a user, it could be a system administrator that says, oh, I do expense reports now and then. I know how to do that. I can help out with it. I can help this guy. This is great. All right, I'm going to help you out. And buy the Xbox cards, send the numbers to an address. Getting ready to write the expense report, you might see that the CTO of the organization the next day and say, hey, I got those Xbox cards for you. And he will tell you, wait a minute, what in the world are you even talking about? And you realize you've been scammed. So yeah, social engineering targets, I could go on with stories about every walk of life and social engineering. So what is the impact? Oh, you just spent $500 on Xbox cards. Oh yeah, economic losses, but it can go into the thousands and the hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars of economic losses from social engineering, damage of goodwill, loss of privacy, your information has been exposed. There can even be dangers from terrorism from social engineering attacks. You can get sued by organizations or have to work through arbitration. You can even have your organization shut down permanently. All of these are potential outcomes from social engineering. Now, what are some? I told you there's several push button. See, there's the word right there. And these are features. These are actually features of Human OS 1.0. One of the features of Human OS 1.0 that got us to where we are today is hierarchy. We recognize hierarchy immediately. So when we see somebody walk in to a building wearing a $5,000 suit, dressed to the nines, and looking like they belong there and they own the place, we get the feeling of authority. It was like, and they say, excuse me, I'm the CTO of XYZ Corp, and I'm here to meet with the CEO of your organization. Let's get this done, right? And you're like, yeah, yes, sir. Yeah, all of a sudden you're saying sir or ma'am or whatever, responding to authority, right? We're great with hierarchy. It's helped us. We can build skyscrapers using that, but we can also be fooled, right? Also, intimidation. You remember this from first and second grade. I mean, we've role-played this since we were children. My older brother used to intimidate me quite a lot, right? So we have intimidation. And someone said, look, if you don't get this done right now, you are going to have some serious trouble, right? You put that into an email format, or, it looks like there's a lawsuit coming or whatever. And we're like, oh no, I better respond to this right now. Again, it's programmed into Human OS 1.0 to respond to intimidation, right? A consensus. Everybody knows that this is the way to do that. Everybody is saying that. 100% of people agree that pressing this button in this email will make you happy, right? So consensus. Oh yeah. Oh, I want to be like I want to be accepted. I want to be in the group. It's a great feature of Human OS 1.0 to be able to fit in socially. It's a great feature. It helps us get probes on Mars, but it also can be hacked. Scarcity. This is the last two items. They're going to be sold right away. If you don't get in on the sale right now, you're going to lose out. We've been programmed. We've been programmed for scarcity. We're actually really good at understanding the problems with scarcity. If it's a bad harvest and there's not much left, it's frightening. Will my family or my tribe survive? We're programmed for all of human civilization. And so when somebody talks about scarcity, there's something deep inside the human psyche that wants to click on that link and get that malware. Urgency. We need to get this done right now, because if we don't, something bad's going to happen. It's going to be in the email. It's going to be in the communication of the social engineer. Again, this is part a great feature of human OS 1.0 because it spurs us into action to get something done right now and maybe stop something bad from happening. It's a great feature, but it also can be used against us. And then there's familiarity, or linking it into something you know. It's family and friends. Family and friends all do this together as a consensus social group. And so click here. Open the attachment. We are programmed for trust. We have people around us that we know. We have familiar things that we know. We put together bonds of trust as humans. It's a great thing. It's an actual feature of human operating system 1.0. And if a social engineer can exploit that, then they can use that against us. So for instance, they can say, hey, I work for XYZ Corp. They can use the XYZ Corp logo. They can use the XYZ Corp font. They can use the XYZ Corp. And I work for XYZ Corp. And it looks like an XYZ Corp email. I trust it. And it says, you need to upgrade your antivirus right now. Oh, wait a minute. It has urgency in it too. Oh, so therefore, I better click on the link. Exploiting that trust, right? Or greed. The email says, I am, and it gives you some title of a person, and I'm on my way to the United States right now. And from the Prince of Zamunda, there is a money that needs to be transferred from Zamunda to the United States. And in order for me to kick off this transaction, I'm going to need $500, and that'll help kick off the transaction. And as a thank you to you, we're going to go ahead and give you $12,000. All right, it's the least we can do for this $10 million or whatever transaction. And you're like, I can get $12,000. I think I'll help this dude from Zamunda, right? And this is why we have lotteries, right? There are $250 million on the big lotto, and we play the lotto. It's just $1, and see if we can win the $250 million, right? Greed has actually been, in certain ways, beneficial to human OS 1.0. But I tell you what, it can also be a vulnerability, an exploit for social engineering. So these are the behaviors. Some of these behaviors have been used to build human society, but yet they are ways for attackers to attack our networks, our systems, grab passwords, sully reputations, and do all kinds of havoc using the techniques of social engineering. So some of the factors that make companies vulnerable to social engineering. The biggest one, this one needs to be really highlighted, insufficient Social Security training. Social Security training, not Social Security, I'm using the wrong word here. Insufficient security training. I'm thinking of social engineering and security. Together it's Social Security, but that's not what we're talking about here. What we're talking about here is security training. And this is the patch to human OS 1.0. The patch is training. That's how we change and grow. And if you don't have security training in your organization, you're leaving a huge vulnerability. All right, so number one, insufficient security training. The next we have is unregulated access to information. People can go wherever they want, go to whatever website they want, click on any link they want. How can we fix that? Well, let's say that one of the unregulated information access areas is that there's an attachment on the email. Why not get rid of the attachment? Let's say one of the unregulated access to information areas is allowing links to untrusted resources actually go out in email. Why not stop the links from going out on the email? What about restricting website access, etc.? So we can actually fix that. But just being able to go wherever you want and do whatever you want, that type of freedom also brings danger with it. The next one we look at is you have organizational units, and not all of them have sufficient security training. not all of them have regulated their access to information. And maybe one organizational unit is great with their security policy, but another one lacks security policies. Without good security policy, your organization is going to be vulnerable to attack. So it's effective. Why is it effective? Well, because it deals with that psychological, that human OS 1.0, the psychology of humans. And the thing is you don't have to study a psychology manual. We innately know it and feel what those areas are that we were talking about earlier. And that can be used to extract information from people. So security policies are as strong as their weakest link, and human behavior is the most susceptible factor. We can have here's what I always tell my hacking students. If you scan the network and on the external network, and let's say you have access to the internal network for some reason, and you can't find a single vulnerable protocol, you can't find a single vulnerable system, you can't find any application that has any vulnerability or database or anything, it's just everything's locked down tight. How do you get access to that system? What's the answer? Ask somebody. Ask somebody, right? Use social engineering and then get a link from the inside and you may get access to that system. We humans can be the most susceptible factor, the weakest link. Also, it's difficult to detect social engineering attempts because people are processing email all the time, they're downloading web pages all the time, and we're not tracking necessarily everything and every interaction and definitely not every thought that people are doing. And so it's very hard to detect the buildup towards social engineering. And there is no method that can be applied to ensure complete security from social engineering attacks. Now, we can spend time educating users and so on. Did you know that there was a study that I was looking at, I don't know, about a couple of years ago, that says that there are certain people who will always click on the link. They will always click on the link. And this is why policy is so important. If you have an employee who is you can't educate them, you can't stop them from clicking on the malicious links, then there needs to be a policy that they can't work there anymore because they are a clear danger to your organization. There may be no specific, there is no specific software or hardware to defend against social engineering attacks, right? There's not something that can run. Why? Because it's the human, and we don't run other software. We only run human OS 1.0. That's what we run, right? No hypervisor, no extras. That's it. So there are phases that we need to be aware of for a social engineering attack. Number one is finding out what's going on. What's going to appeal to that company, to those employees, pulling down information. Next, we want to select a target. So for instance, we might do a social engineering attack on a frustrated employee. Maybe we were looking at that employee's LinkedIn posts, or we're looking at that employee's Facebook posts, or we're looking at their Twitter posts, and we're like, man, this girl, she is really frustrated. And so we target her, or we find a guy who's very disgruntled, and we target the guy. And so we can even target a group. Sometimes there are whole departments that are frustrated. I remember I was working at a company while I was in college. I would just go there over the summers and work for the summers at a company. And I came back 1 year after college, and they said, "Oh, don't go to that department. They're moved," because there's crime tape around that entire department because they were all involved in a drug ring. The entire department. Isn't that crazy? So maybe they were frustrated and they decided to do something else, right? Develop a relationship with the employee. They may do this through email, through chat. They may do this personally, like meeting the employee at after hours, happy hours or whatever, and develop a relationship with the employee in some way, even a thread of a relationship, like for instance, through a chat session or email. will do it. Also, then exploit that relationship to get information from that employee.